Hey everybody, Brandon with FastDataScience.ai, and guess what? Today we're not going to do a show. Today, instead, we're just going to hang out and we're going to read this book. I'm going to read it to you, line after line. Just kidding. Of course, we're doing a show today. Happy April Fools! All right, so today, since kind of a funny day, I want to kick this show off with a little bit of a funny quib that I came up with as I was thinking about what do I want to do on the show today. So, did you hear about the model that was always wrong? Yeah, me too. I guess it couldn't catch the drift. Get it? Drift. Yeah. All right. Anyways, let's go ahead and jump in. Today, as I mentioned, is April 1st, and April 1st is April Fool's Day. It's also the start of the second quarter of the year, 2022. And so today, this is the show, and for those of you who I haven't introduced properly, this is the show where I give you all of the analytics, if you will, for the week on the news in AI, data science, and machine learning. I take all of that news, I organize it with some topic modeling, and then I identify some of the news headlines that I think are the most interesting and the most informative and the ones that I want to learn a little bit about and take the time to share with you. Hopefully you learn a little bit as well, get a little bit out of this. So today's show is really good. I found some really interesting articles and I have a new addition to the show, something that you haven't seen before that I stole from another other show, like I do with a lot of my ideas for this stuff. So, all right, let's go ahead and get after it. What did we find in my inbox today? In my inbox today, we found 90 articles. Those 90 articles were organized into 5 different topic areas. Of course, number 1, the most prominent, education slash jobs were kind of lumped together in this particular analysis that we did. Makes perfect sense. Topic number 2, interviews. You might think that's related to jobs, but actually there were quite a few articles in there talking about interview skills. So actually that's one of the articles that I'll go over with you today. Topic number 3 was all about definitions. So what does it mean to be a data scientist? What does it mean to be a machine learning engineer? If you've been following me, you've been following any of my videos or any of my writing, you've seen that I've written about this and I've talked about this, so I'm not going to get into it. You can go figure out my opinion on that, or you can look at a million other people's opinions on the web because Google allows you to do that. Okay. Topic number 4, war. We've seen it before. It's a super important topic, and it's actually one of the things that kind of caught my eye this week. And then topic number 5, strong. That should be strange, not strong. Strange and interesting. And that one actually inspired me to do a new category this week. So let's go ahead and jump into it. What is the first article? As I mentioned, the first article I wanted to touch on is interviews. 5 questions to expect in your data science job interview. And so what is really cool and interesting about this article is not that it's just another interview article about how to interview for data science jobs, but that the author kind of tees up like some really common questions that apply across all of these jobs. And I thought it was a really good opportunity for me to take a look at those with you and then provide you a little bit of my own personal opinion on how you should respond to some of these questions. Because really, at the end of the day, it's not about the data science. Yeah, sure, it's kind of about the data science, but at the end of the day, businesses are more interested in how you use the data science to do useful things. So let's take a look in this particular article. Why do I care? Well, jobs, duh. And so here are the 5 top questions that this author says you'll see in most data science jobs, regardless of industry, regardless of the type of company. And so those are, why are you interested in data science? What problems have you encountered? Have you worked with stakeholders? What are common project pitfalls and considerations? And finally, here is a take-home test or take-home project. We want you to do it and come back and see what your solution is. So here's my take on all of these questions and really just interviewing in general. I'll probably do a more detailed video on this in the future, but at the end of the day, companies really don't care about data science as a technical area of study. What companies care about is how we use data science to solve problems. So when you answer the question, why are you interested in data science? Don't say because I think support vector machines are cool, okay? Because most people won't get that anyways. Why are they cool, right? What do they do for the business? So really think about, what is it about data science that helps me enable my skill set to do more for a business? And that's true with what problems you've encountered. Talk through some of the different problems that we commonly see in data science, but really focus on the business impact. What is the impact that those problems have for the solution you're building? Keep it solution focused. Businesses love that stuff. It gets you closer to KPIs. That also means that you've listened to stakeholders. So it helps to answer a lot of these different buckets. And when you perform that take home project, a little bit of advice: start simple and then build a little sophistication as needed. Okay, because a lot of these companies want to see that you're a good problem solver. At the end of the day, there is no right answer for a lot of them. They really just want to see that you're able to provide some kind of solution. And then they'll evaluate the quality of that solution amidst all the other solutions. And if it's logical, it's straightforward, and it solves the problem, you're going to have a really good chance of getting that job. Okay, let's move on. Number 2, SDAIA compiles the largest glossary of data science and artificial intelligence terms. Okay, what is SDAIA? SDAIA is the Saudi Data and Artificial Intelligence Agency. And so what this group does, they're based in Saudi Arabia, is, well, let me just go ahead and give you why I care. Here's why I care. So what their job is, what their goal in this particular article was really to understand the impact that artificial intelligence is having on the world, and to then also understand that because AI has such a big impact, that we really need language through which we can talk about artificial intelligence for people who don't use English, because a lot of the innovation that's happened has happened from English speaking countries. And so that means that cross-cultural AI is really, really important. Having the language and the terms and knowing how to talk about these things helps build understanding. And so this effort was about building the largest artificial intelligence glossary of terms and aligning those with Arabic. And so that way, people could start, who don't speak English natively, could start to learn and understand what artificial intelligence means, have a context and a framework for talking about that meaning, and also for understanding. The other reason I thought this was particularly useful was because it actually gave access to that glossary that they built. And so that's a source of data, and some data science projects could really benefit from using this very large glossary. For example, if you want to annotate a large text to see if there's any mention of anything related to data science, having a huge glossary of data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence terms is really useful. And so that link is right here. This is a PDF, and that PDF it's mostly written in Arabic, but at the end there is a glossary of English terms as well that all relate to AI. And it's the most comprehensive one I have seen to date. So really cool, really good source for projects, and also really interesting to kind of take home the message here, which is that cross-culturally building language to understand artificial intelligence just goes to show how impactful this technology is for everybody in the world. Okay, so what caught my eye for this week? What caught my eye for this week was artificial intelligence could transform defense strategies and how the DoD is planning for it. Okay, so this guy right here, Brian Mazanik, I think I said that right. He is the Director of Defense Capabilities and Management. And actually, hold on a second, I see a little bit of a resemblance. Anybody watch Love is Blind? This guy totally looks like Nick Thompson. Anyways, my wife got me into it. Okay, so let's get back to the topic here. What's really cool about this article is it's actually in audio. There's a transcript. Talk about that in a second. But the audio is of Brian being interviewed, talking about all of the different ways in which the DoD and some of the associated agencies that are using artificial intelligence in the context of defense and war are actually taking advantage of what those technologies are doing. So the DoD really points out how they've invested in artificial intelligence. And Brian kind of explains some of those areas. It's a short clip. It's only about an 8-minute interview, but it's really interesting to listen to some of the examples that he gives. Some of the things that popped out for me include things like Game Changer. Game Changer is a product that the DoD built, which is essentially just a huge database of all of the different government policies and Department of Defense policies What they did was they essentially created a searchable database that allowed people, allows employees and staff of the DoD to quickly search all of those different policies and also identify relationships across policies. This is really important when you're managing a lot of complex policies to understand how they relate, be able to find them quickly, sort of like a Google for policy documents in this particular context. If you've been following me, you'll see that I've actually written on building a portfolio project that sort of does something similar, sort of the start of this. Less sophisticated, I'm sure, but nevertheless kind of scratches that surface, if you will, because that's me scratching a surface. Okay, the other interesting and cool projects that Brian talks about in here talks a little bit about how AI is being used in the war currently in Ukraine. The Ukrainian government is using facial detection to help identify Russian operatives. They are also using some fake news algorithms to be able to debunk and battle a lot of the misinformation that's being put out by the Russian government on social media. So there are active projects and campaigns happening to help combat those things. And Brian also talks a little bit about the future. So, what do we see in the future of AI, especially from a government and defense perspective? And they talk about two things that I found really interesting here. One is contextual adaptation. This is the idea that you can build a reinforcement model that can adapt to new environments that it hasn't experienced before. The example they use in the particular video is talking about building potentially a submarine vessel or a Navy vessel that can navigate bad weather when it hasn't really been in that kind of bad weather before. So really interesting conversation there around what kinds of technologies and investments are required to get into that. The other side is also really understanding that the DoD and the government in general needs a stronger AI strategy. So the DoD did come out with a strategy, but Brian says it wasn't enough. We need more components to that strategy to really help us understand how to be strategic with this technology going forward. And really what they pointed out was the document was really missing a clear governance policy over how AI is used and when it should be used. Also understanding all the different resources that need to be invested in to really continue to take advantage and leverage that technology. And then finally, having a strong risk assessment of all those investments. Not everything's going to work out. For those of you that work in the field, you understand that we do a ton of experimentation just to try and get to a single solution. And so often, 50 experiments comes out with one solution. So understanding the risk cost sort of benefit trade-offs is really important. This video, or not video, excuse me, this audio interview does a great job. Finally, the last thing that I thought was the most kind of hilarious about the whole kind of website was in the actual transcription of the call. So what's really funny is if you go onto the website, you go to, right underneath Brian's picture that I put up, where I said he looks like the Love is Blind guy. If you go right underneath there, you see this little blib here, and it says artificial intelligence is likely to transform national defense and war strategies. The Department of Defense has even stated that failure to adopt AI technology could restore the military's ability to defend our nation. Okay, wait, what? Did you say restore? Okay, so if we fail to adopt AI, we will restore the military's ability to defend our nation? Okay, that's not actually what he said. Okay, he said that it's necessary for us to be able to succeed with AI so we can actually advance our military's ability to defend the nation. However, this was bad transcription. So I think this was the Department of Government Accountability, or the Government Accountability Office, the GAO. Yeah, so GAO, you guys might want to work on your own use of artificial intelligence, beef up some of your ability to transcribe more accurately. Okay, here are some honorable mentions. So this is the new thing that came out from this whole sort of looking at all the articles. So in there was strange and interesting artificial intelligence articles. Excuse me, my cat's tail is in the way. Number one that I thought these were hilarious. I mean, at the end of the day, these made me go read them. So Google these, check them out. It sounds funny. After Yang and 6 more heartbreaking movies about artificial intelligence. Advancing equity and inclusion in a deep turd world. Not totally related to AI throughout, but what's a turd world? It's actually a really well written article. Researchers ask serious questions like, do crabs have emotions? Good question. And then finally, there's a whole story trying to liken data science to a buffet, which I found enlightening. All right, here are the links. Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all tuning in. And so hopefully we continue to get more of this out there. Hopefully you found this insightful today. You learned something. I know I did. Look forward to chatting with you more next week. And maybe I'll pop up a few more videos, like I said, on how to answer interview questions in data science. Seems to be a popular one. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a great April Fool's Day and have a great weekend.